So, hi, Emma. You are very welcome on the podcast. Lovely to
Thank you.
So, just for people who are listening and maybe haven't come across you before, do you want to just let us know who you are and what your practice name is?
Yeah, so my name's Emma Tynan and I am the medical trauma therapist on Instagram. I focus my practice on mainly clients who have gone through medical trauma or are going through any chronic condition or chronic illness. And that would be something that I have had personal experience of and something that I suppose I have come across my career a lot in the last many, many years.
Okay. How long have you been in private practice for?
So technically I've been in private practice almost since I qualified, but it was almost a hobby on the side of my other work and my nursing work and everything else. It was almost, something that was, you know, one client a week or two clients a week and never really something that was really nurtured. I really started nurturing it, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years ago is when
Mm.
I really started to focus on my private practice and focus on the types of clients that I love working with. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that I can really benefit working with as well. So I do think that from a point of view of it being a substantial income, it
Mm-hmm.
was definitely about 3 or 4 years ago.
Years ago. And obviously, whenever you said they're the medical trauma therapist, that's
Hmm.
very clear, very precise niche, and you just touched upon what your previous career was,
Hmm.
and I'm assuming that had something to do with the niche that you then have gone in. Tell me a wee bit about what you did before.
Yeah, so I did my degree in nursing when I came out of school, which is a long time ago now. And I was like nursing for about 15, 16 years, and almost a decade of that I was in A&E. So I was working in emergency care. So obviously medical trauma is, part and parcel of that. But as well, I've had, interactions with the medical, I suppose, system myself. And the medical trauma side of that with kind of longer, quieter chronic conditions is something as well that
Mm.
I've had firsthand experience of, even personally, that it doesn't have to be being blue lighted into hospital. It can be a consistent either gaslighting or being shut down or just consistent, being met with a system that, isn't perfect or, maybe a constant fight. So that is something as well that I have, you know, really experienced myself. And also sometimes when you say the words medical trauma, the first thing that people think of is that kind of scene in one of those programs where there's flashing lights and everything. But actually for a lot of people, it's something a lot more understated and maybe something that was chipping away rather than, one big incident, even though that is also trauma, but it's a lot broader than that.
What can you give like example of like what would a common kind of presentation be around like medical trauma, what that might look like?
It's interesting. One of the biggest presentations is, this kind of, I do call it the hangover. So, and it doesn't have to necessarily be around medical settings, but sometimes it is. It's walking back into a medical setting and, cue panic attack or cue, the heavy breathing, anxiety. I've had everything written down on the piece of paper to say to doctor, and now I can't say anything. But then also you can get it in, stories like where people are like, "Oh, I'm in remission from cancer and everybody's telling me I should be fine." But I sat in a car the other day that I was really confident driving in and I panicked.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't cope with things that were routine and I was normally confident with. And it's, something that a vulnerability has taken this confidence away from them. So it's, a lot of people will have been diagnosed actually with PTSD. They have anxiety, panic attacks, things like that. I think there's another, you know, the trauma of grief as well is a huge one. Loss of whether it's your physical abilities or even, like I said, even if you're physically well, the abilities that you had before, whether
Mm.
it's driving, whether it's just the confidence that you had in life, can be a huge one. So they're kind of the, like I said, the aftermath of what has happened. And that is something that, you fundamentally changes people. So yeah, that's it really
Yeah, so
yeah.
interesting how it sounds so specific and so niche, medical trauma, but then
Mm,
describe what it looks like in reality. The
yeah.
depth of experience and situations
Mhm,
it apply to is really, really interesting. I'm wondering, like, I can't even imagine. I am so squeamish and terrible with anything medical or the sight of blood. I can't even imagine how
mhm,
resilient you must be to do 10 years in a.
mhm. Yeah, well, it was almost 10 years. But yeah, I think, to be honest, it probably was too much because, like I said, I was, not that I was always had, a chronic condition myself, but it was it was too much for me. I probably should have left before, and I was actually, I suppose, reflecting on that when I went to my own therapy and thinking about, the advice we give clients regarding pacing and safeguarding themselves and making sure. And it was something that, and I was kind of not forced out of it because I ended up moving. But it was something that I am glad I did. But when I look back, I definitely think that it was something that I probably stayed a little bit too long in for me. And there's this feeling, I think, sometimes of I need to stay because I have a responsibility, or um what would happen if I didn't show up to work or I didn't show up. And I think a lot of people who have chronic illness or, have gone through any trauma have that kind of feeling of that I need to keep going, and rather than, I suppose, questioning what's right for them. So yeah, I think it does show a lot of resilience for anybody to stay in a job like that. There's people in it still there and they're there 20 years.
Wow.
But I do think, though, there is another question about when's enough as well. And when do I become that I'm not helpful if I'm, you know, burning out and there a little bit too long.
Yeah, it seems like the sort of career, more specifically in a department like that, that it should have a span, I imagine.
Yeah, well, some people just love it, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Like, it is it, but yeah, I just think for me anyway, it was the right thing to do, was to switch careers.
Mhm. And when you did switch careers then and do your therapy training, did
Hmm.
you go straight in to need them or did you work in a more
No, I actually was. I suppose, when I was in between the two careers, so I was doing part-time nursing, and then I was doing kind of part-time like therapy, and I worked in EAP services. I, still work for a contract a little bit, and no, I didn't meet straight away. I think what made me meet was a few years of sitting with clients that I liked,
Mm.
and who I liked and who I related to, and who I felt I actually could really do some really good work with. And, I think it's interesting you talk about, how, you don't realize how human medical trauma is. Like, it affects every part of someone's life. You think it's really specific, but in a lot of ways it's not. But when you're talking about being squeamish and stuff, if you are talking to somebody with a chronic illness or somebody who's going through that, if you're squeamish, even in the therapy room, it's a no, because this is something that you need to be, might be struggling to accept about themselves, no matter if it's an intimate thing or whatever. So you have to be, yeah, look,
Mm.
fine, no big deal. This is not. So for me, I think it was something that I just really gravitated towards. I
Yeah.
think the reason I didn't niche as well too soon was out of fear, not from it that I didn't love the clients and I didn't love the niche and I didn't think I could do good work in the niche. It was more fear financially
Yeah.
and what's going to happen if I go into private practice and nobody comes and everything like that, which I think is normal. It was more about, the marketing and the business side than the actual if I wanted to work with these clients or not. So yeah, there were definitely it's so simple though, but it's you're just drawn to a certain,
Mhm.
and I did as well. When I was I did do postcard and emergency care as well. So it was that knowing like the system has somewhat helped as well because you know, you know,
Yeah.
the disappointments people are going to face as well. So yeah, I think that has helped as well.
I can imagine it helps massively being in this unique position of being a therapist, having lived an experience of chronic condition and your background in emergency care. Like, what a wonderful position to be in to kind of have that
Hmm.
experience and must be of such value, I imagine, for the clients that come and work for you as well. And I'm wondering, like, I would say over the last 6 months, I've really loved like watching you grow Instagram and grow in confidence and really kind of put yourself out there in terms of marketing yourself.
Hmm.
I'd love for you to kind of to share what that experience has been like for you, like really deciding, you know what, I'm owning this niche and I'm going for it.
It has been terrifying. If anybody follows me on my personal Instagram, they will know there is not one photo of me. They will never know if I've been on holidays, what is going on in my life. There's zero photos. So it's just, I barely follow anybody. I'm not, you
Mhm.
know, haven't been into social media in a long time. So for me to put myself out there has been terrifying. However, I think when it is out there, and you were specifically talking about just therapy or your niche, or it is a little bit different because, for me, my boundaries are very clear of that I am not going to be talking about, what my family situation is like, what my personal life is like. So for me, once I set my boundaries, I think I did relax a little bit. And so I think that was something that, and also as well, it's really slow. It's
Mhm.
really slow. I mean, it is, something that you have to be quite consistent at. And I haven't always actually been consistent at. I mean, has been lots of pauses and restarts and everything, but it definitely was worth the engagements from people getting curious about, oh, my friend had this, and, I didn't realize what this could be like for them, or just people relating to it, or other therapists being curious. And I think that has definitely been worth it. I definitely didn't or never want to be any form of influencer or anything, but I really love talking about, yeah, I suppose medical trauma and, making people way more aware about what it is like to live in the world, even with, any form of chronic illness or condition, and how it presents in therapy, how we can work with it in therapy, what we can't work with in therapy. I mean, we've boundaries there too. So, yeah, no, I have really enjoyed it so far. It's still terrifying, but it's definitely a little bit better than it was.
Yeah, but you did it, didn't you?
I
And
did.
you did it, and I watched you doing like your live Q&As with other therapists.
Hmm.
You've been
Yeah.
guesting on other podcasts, and,
Hmm.
these things to really step outside your comfort zone.
Hmm.
And the impression that I kind of got seeing you do that is what that was helping with potentially is building connections with other therapists and becoming known as this is specialize in. I don't know what you kind of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, what I thought was really beneficial was other therapists where their niches crisscrossed as well or overlapped. So Gemma, the IVF therapist, obviously she, had a great interest in medical trauma because IVF obviously holds a lot of trauma with it as well. And there was Sheena, who's the pain therapist, and she works with a lot of people, pain and things like that. And I think it was such a lovely thing because it easily could have been like, oh, we're all kind of in a similar pool here. Maybe we should be competing against each other, but we're not. It's, having conversations about how each other work, what sort of presentations they are, how maybe there might be a crossover. It really does build connections because there has been clients who maybe I may have and think, you know what, you're actually maybe not even suited to me, but I know who you are, and vice versa. Or just a little bit of supporting, I think is huge. I think it's been a really lovely experience, especially when you're going out private practice on your own, because supporting each other has been such a lovely experience because you do work alone. So that
Yeah.
has been really nice. And yeah, connections are so important for everything.
Completely agree. And actually, it makes my heart sing. Like, I think it was you maybe said to me after the co working that you'd just been on a call with Gemma, I think it was. And then equal, I have conversations with Gemma and she talks about having conversations with you or other
Mm-hmm.
community members. And what makes my heart sing is when one of you is doing something like a workshop or something like that, that everybody shares it and sort of
Yeah.
each other. And I think like if you were doing this alone and you didn't have a network or you didn't have a community around you,
Yeah.
hard it can be. And I think just that building those connections, becoming established, being known for your area of expertise, that if inside a Facebook group or community there's a referral request or somebody's looking like that you might be at the forefront
Mm-hmm.
line to get recommended. So it's really important to kind of think about establishing those relationships and making it less isolating and getting that support as well, which is so important.
Yeah, and how often, and I think it's funny, even for things like Psychology Today, the amount of times I've gotten referrals that have been inappropriate because it's
Mhm.
nothing got to do with what I do. And it is nice to have a gun. I know actually who you might like though. So I think it goes both ways. And I think the support has been lovely. And I think that's definitely been such a positive I didn't really expect out of the community and your community and the Instagram and everything
Yeah.
like that as well.
Yeah, it's so important. And so where do most of your referrals come from then?
So when I started in private practice, most of my referrals came from places like Psychology Today, or just a place called Therapy Route is kind of like another one. It's in Ireland. And yeah, they were kind of like few and far between and things like that. Word of mouth. For now, actually, most of my referrals, actually, a good few come through my website. And I've actually had a few from actual Instagram or word of mouth where one person told another and things like that. So that has been incredible. And also, like we said, from other therapists who, might have somebody that wasn't appropriate for them or they couldn't fit in or whatever. So I think that has been quite something. I think it from the website point of view, that took a while to get up and going as well. But I've really seen, I suppose, in the last, few months, it has definitely improved. I think one of the biggest things that has come out of it is I completely rewrote it not so long ago. And it's that kind of, oh, I thought you were talking about me. So that people have said, now it's not perfect, but it's definitely something that has drawn a lot more traffic lately as well. So yeah, I think there's been a variety of places, but at the start, it was very much, the odd one off psychology today or the odd one off, and it was, you know, it is patience, definitely building, everything up. I think, like you said, it was, before you build a website and everybody comes, or, you post on Instagram and it doesn't work like that at all. So it's
No, it
been
don't.
a lot of patience. But yeah, it has probably comes from a lot more multiple sources than it
Mhm.
did compared to the start.
Yeah. And I think like what you've just said is what I would want every single therapist coming into private practice to know and have a realistic expectation around. That I think there can be a perception that you'll just put your directory profile up and that's it. And that's going to be enough to fill the practice. And that maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that would have been true. But I don't believe that that is true now. And the journey you've had is sort of similar to what mine was as well with private practice, that the directory profiles are there and they are a worthy investment. They still are a worthy investment. If you get some referrals through from them, it's worth still paying that fee. It can be helpful for your website as well. But getting to a place like you're kind of talking about now, where you're bringing in your own referrals through your
Mm,
own platform, through your own
mhm.
website, that's kind of like, that's the gold standard, isn't it? Because you own that. And, that would be the ideal. And that other referral sources like other therapists recommending you, Instagram, all of those are really, really nice to have. And, what a great place to be in is that we can tap into these different kind of sources and streams.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so important. And was there anything outside of just changing, like rewriting the content to really speak to your ideal client? Was there anything else that you did with your website?
Mm, let me think. I think yeah, well, I really niched it because when it came first, I think which isn't unlike me, I went head first into the right, I'm going to do properly now into private practice and I'm going to get a website. And I started the website and I got started with a website designer and they're like, oh, what sort of therapy did you do this? And I'd be quite integrative as a therapist, but I was like, yeah, I do a bit of it and this and that. And the website was all over the place. It was a very general, I do a bit of CPT, I do a bit, there was no niche to it. It didn't really sound like me. So I kind of niched it, first of all. It was I also have added loads of, things like free resources I've added to over the last few years as well. There's a lot more places where I've added booking links. So, there's lots more places where people can click to book. And I think, yeah, that was the biggest change. It got a complete turnaround from the
Mhm.
first one where its whole thing was that I focus completely on my niche on the website. It was something that I also was a bit afraid of doing because I was thinking, but if nobody comes and what if the client that I would work with who wants a general counselor would have worked with me, but they say, oh, only does medical trauma and chronic illness. So that was a little bit worrying as well. So, but I did it, and yeah, I think they were really the main changes. I do have some more ideas for it. I'm constantly full of ideas. So yeah, I think to add on loads of stuff. But yeah, I think the main changes were, making it really accessible that
Mhm.
they can contact me or book really easily to be able to speak to the niche. And I think things like having free resources on it. And
Mhm.
obviously I have a tab then as well if I do workshops or anything like that. So yeah, they were kind of the main things. And like I said, it's still not perfect. I don't know will I ever be happy with it. Kind of like my house. But I'm sure I'll be changing it forever. But yeah.
That's so important, the fact that it is crystal clear when you go on your website who you work with.
Yeah.
And that if there's plenty of content resources on there, that all those sort of keywords that your ideal client is going to be searching, that's all.
Hmm.
Right.
Mhm.
you're coming up in the search engine, which is brilliant. That's exactly what you want. You mentioned about workshops. That's probably a really nice place to kind of lead into your latest venture. You did the CPD program. Was that this year or the end of last
Apron. Yeah.
year?
Yeah.
So you did the CPD workshop. So tell everybody kind of a little bit about how you ended up doing that and how it went for you.
So I ended up doing the CPT workshop because I was really interested in looking into different incomes outside the one-to-one therapy. I dabbled in the thoughts of doing group therapy, which wasn't really going to work for me. At the time, I worked completely remotely, and I didn't really have a big enough following, and different time zones for different clients and loads of different things. And you were doing your CPT course for therapists, and talking about beyond one-to-one therapy. And I did the course, and it was brilliant, and yet again terrifying, because we just do lots of things outside of our comfort zone, including lots of marketing. And I definitely learned a lot and became a lot more confident in doing it if I did it again. It was something as well that I have to say, and I'm sure I'm not the only one to this, that all of a sudden you get this feeling just before it, do I actually know anything about this? Or am I just, making up in my head that I know? But actually, like, I did a CPD, it was 6 hours. So clearly I had some something. And it went really well, and I learned loads. One of the main things I learned was I actually didn't record it. And it was too late when I decided, oh, maybe because I had people asking, are you recording it? I'll buy it and I'll watch it later or whatever. And I already had kind of made the commitment of other people are coming, and they thought it wasn't. So, but it was interesting, the little things like that come up from doing it the first time, that I was like, okay, this is what I do next time. Or certain ways that I market it or whatever. So I found that really helpful, just doing it, that you can talk about doing it and what can go wrong, and what, but actually just doing it really
Mhm.
brought up a lot of things of where I'm like, oh, if I just tweak this or that or this time, then it actually will be, it might go a little bit smoother, or, whatever. So yeah, I think ripping the band-aid off is probably the biggest piece of advice I'd give, is just do it. Yeah.
You definitely ripped the band-aid off, because I think you had done like a little pre-recorded CPD workshop
Yeah.
prior to the program that
Yeah.
you were selling on
Yeah.
online events. And then you created the 6 hour, you created the full day CPD.
Mm-hmm.
You went all in, and that you said it was live and there was no replay. And the thing that I thought was absolutely amazing is that 18 people still came
Yeah.
live.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think I suppose that one thing I did say was I really would like, I think I said to somebody, I kind of ate, drank, like lived that thing for when I was promoting it. All I thought about was, where can I promote now? Who can I email now? So I really just kind of tried to keep going. And I think my target was 10, and I got as far as 10. And I was like, oh, I'm as far as 10. And I almost was about to take my foot off the gas. They're like, are you going to get 2 more this week? And I was like, oh, I thought I was done.
But no, you're not done.
So I think that was a big thing, is that I was so relieved when people were coming. So I think one thing I said about the pre-recorded one was, no one comes, it's fine. Nobody will know. It's up there now, for nobody can see who's attended or who hasn't. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, actually. I really enjoyed the day. I think you kind of forget, because I've lived this, I've worked in it for so long. I've had, even, before I niche, these are the clients that I, really was drawn to and worked with and everything, that you kind of forget what is normal day to day work life for you, that maybe isn't for others, and they ask, people ask questions, and you know, you actually do forget that, oh, this is something that I do and I can answer questions about. So yeah, but I really did enjoy it in the end, even though it was terrifying, but I'm really, really glad I did it.
And that experience that you have just described, for anybody that is thinking about maybe doing workshops or CPD workshops, the experience of doing that whole launch is that what a lot of people do is that they'll put it out there to say, oh, I'm going to do this workshop or I'm going to do this event. And then if there's not a barrage of people like knocking at their door to try and get tickets, this is when the inner critic comes in. This is when people start going, oh, nobody's interested, nobody's going to come. And like you said, we take maybe the foot off the gas, or we stop promoting, or we pull back. I loved about what you did is like you were like a dog with a bone, honey. You weren't giving up, you were doing your
Yeah.
doing your Q&As. You were thinking, I remember you saying about you actually reached out to other people in other organizations, and you were thinking, who would benefit from this? And I'm just going to do a reach out and send a message. Like that's what is involved in marketing something, that it isn't just that you put something out there and you hope that people are going to come. You have to be proactive and you have to be active in doing it as well. And it really paid off for you, because how many people can say their first ever like full day CPD with no replay gets you sold? Yeah, then
I know.
Is there a replay? Replay. The fact that you managed to get 18 people come on with no replay on offer is like brilliant.
I know. I know. I know that I think the the biggest thing for me was I was just like, okay, I'm not doing this to two people as well. I was like,
Yeah.
but no, I do think it is, you do have to be quite persistent with it. And I do think as well, one thing it did gain from me as well is that kind of piece, as you said, community, that if you do things in the future, you have, people for your emailing list, or you have even just, again, connecting with other therapists and finding out what they do. And yeah, I think it was a really good experience. And, I know there has been lots of positive experiences from that course, because I know Louise is rerunning hers as well. And, it's in, brilliant.
Yeah, and the great thing I think about something like that is then this is where stepping into like, well, I'm a business owner, and kind of thinking about your income and thinking about, well, how you even plan your year or set your goals for the year is thinking about things
Mhm.
like one-to-one work, and then thinking about, well, what might be, for example, quieter. When might be a quieter period in my one-to-one? Well, maybe that's a great month or a great season for
Mhm.
me and my CPD workshop, and that'll bring in an additional source of revenue. And how great to kind of be able to think about that, because we have those natural dips, don't we, in private practice, times that are going to be quieter. So having this, this other revenue stream to be able to tap into is amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think as well, doing the course as well, just the practical stuff, how you get things set up, and how I suppose even make slides, get on MailerLite,
Mhm.
for all of those things were just so useful, because the way I feel about it now is that, okay, now I know how to do this. It's all, I've done it once, I can do it again. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's it. And as well, having that time as well to promote it, during quieter times is also very useful.
Yeah, brilliant. So you have a masterclass, is that right? A free masterclass
Yeah.
coming up soon. Do you want to tell for anybody that might be interested in coming along?
Yeah, so it's an hour free masterclass on supporting clients with chronic illness. So it's just an introduction into the topic, I suppose. It's for a therapist. Like I said, the day CPD was 6 hours. So this is literally just a introduction, a little bit of a masterclass. It is free, and it's on the 5th of July. And yeah, it's just if anybody is interested in the topic or wants to learn more, it's definitely a good place to get started. And yeah, I will be sending out a cert to everybody afterwards, which I know is very important too.
Is he?
Yes.
We want a little certificate, don't we?
Yeah.
That sounds like a brilliant idea, and that's something else, I guess, from a marketing perspective is,
Hmm.
trying out, like, free webinars, free
Yeah.
masterclasses and all as
Hmm.
well, and, how brilliant that you're putting yourself out there and experimenting with something different. And again, I'm sure it'll go really, really well.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me today, and
Thank you.
so interesting. And for people who are maybe interested in registering for the masterclass, where is the best place for people to find you?
So the masterclass is on my Instagram, which is at the medical trauma therapist. It should be on my website tomorrow, which is emmatynecounselling.ie under workshops. And I have it up on therapyacademy.ie as well, which is a hosting platform. So, or if you can't find it, you can always either DM me or email me on info at
No problem.
counselling.ie. But sure,
Yeah, I'll make sure I put the links.
perfect.
So you can put we can put the masterclass links and your Instagram handle and everything in the show notes
Perfect.
for anybody that wants to. But you do hang out on Instagram, so it's always a good place.
I do. I do. Yeah.
People are following you already to go and connect with you on Instagram is a great idea. So thank you so much for joining me, and
Thank you for having me.